To define a category, you don't have to be the first one. The Suzuki Hayabusa arrived out of nowhere, and Honda and Kawasaki were definitely not keen to see it coming. The Hayabusa came to destroy everything and set the standards for a sports bike of a modern era. It was the fastest bike ever built, but it was a lot more than that. The Hayabusa has become one of those names you will never forget what they mean. No more words were needed for people to know what are you talking about. It was a plain Japanese term back then, but went on to become one of the most influential and renowned in the history of motorcycles. Its name is the Japanese equivalent of Peregrine Falcon from our countrymates Sokol Sťahovaví, and that's a bird of prey able to go beyond 300 km/h during a high-speed dive, up to 400 kph in the extreme cases. In the 1990s, Kawasaki and Honda were competing against each other. Honda did not like that for straight 6 years, Kawasaki ZZR1100 dominated with its 147 horsepower engine and a production motorcycle record of 175 mph. To look like their main business, Honda took the Lockheed SR-71's Blackbird name and ruled since 1996 with the CBR1100XX. It was only 4 mph faster than the Ninja, but Kawasaki would not stand a chance without a bigger engine. And then the new contender appeared, and it literally likes to hunt down Blackbirds. In the early stages, Suzuki thought about a 900 to 1100cc engine, but as a consequence of pursuing the best handling, acceleration, safety, power, riding ability, original styling, etc., for the good of customers, it became the fastest production motorcycle. It was designed with an inline 4-cylinder using 16 valves for breathing, placed into a chain-driven twin-cam head. However, compared to the Blackbird or ZZR, it had a couple of modern features, including a column plug setup, in addition to the electronic fuel injection. The Superbird was given a 1137cc of engine displacement into the fight, while the Hayabusa had the benefit of a significantly more cc to work with. A displacement of 1299cc was unheard of at the time, and with this combination of a large engine and a ram air system incorporated into the design, which basically means that the bike would make more power as it was going faster, its peak power climbed up to the 175 horsepower mark, an astonishing number in 1999. The engine consists of an aluminum closed deck block, having 81mm Nikasil cylinders. Inside, there was a 63mm stroke crankshaft, cast iron connecting rods, and die-cast aluminum pistons. Such a large engine produced a good portion of 135 Nm of torque at the flywheel. A Suzuki test rider, Yuichi Nakashima, said at the time, "The Hayabusa's engine feels so overwhelmingly powerful and finely tuned that there is nothing like it." It was able to run high 9s on a quarter mile with a speed trap of 146 mph. Many bikes were not able to accelerate as quickly in 3rd gear as the Busa could in the 5th. After hearing such achievements, it sounds funny when Yoshirua mentioned that there were no primary targets to build the fastest motorcycle. The styling of the Hayabusa was the subject of several discussions. Undoubtedly, it was a very new approach and intentionally sketched to create a strong initial impact, as Yoshirua describes. The goal was also to shape a new face of Suzuki, something unforgettable. It also had to pass the test of time and age like wine. The lumps, curves, and all the bulgy shapes do have another reason. Aerodynamics is a major factor when creating a fast machine, and Suzuki not only needed a powerful engine, but also a sleek motorcycle to slip through air like a knife through butter. A typical bike has a terrible drag coefficient of about 0.7, but the Hayabusa is still the least air-dragging bike with a drag coefficient of 0.55. However, it was not only the exterior design that was special about the Hayabusa. it was hidden underneath its unmistakable fairings. There was a twin-beam frame using an upside-down front fork and aluminum rear subframe. As the subframe often broke, it was later changed for a steel piece. The suspension was fully adjustable, and during the first rides at Catalunya, journalists were blown away not just by the sheer speed it could generate, but also the comfort and friendliness of the motorcycle on the nearby Barcelona roads. The handling was considered excellent for a bike of this class. Jay Koblenz of Motorcycle Consumer News had a great comment about that. The Hayabusa is speed in all its glory, but speed is not all the Hayabusa is. Yoshira also said that it had to be the ultimate road legal motorcycle with the highest performance from mass-produced bikes. The model years of 1999 and 2000 were the only ones to have a speedometer dialed up to the 340 km/h or 220 mph. Ever since then, European politicians voiced their fear of the potential risk of high-speed racing as the top speed contest was escalating, with Kawasaki meaning to take the Busa down from the throne. The Japanese and European bike companies came to an agreement to limit the bikes to 300 kph, and the war was over, at least without tampering with the speedometer. There may be faster bikes right now, but the Hayabusa was the first one advertised and able to go over 300 kph. The first gen remained more or less unchanged until 2007, when the Gen 2 came around. The design was tweaked, brakes and suspension were redesigned for better performance, and then there was the new engine, gaining 20 horsepower. Suzuki used a new type of pistons, made of a lightweight aluminum alloy with a different shape and high compression ratio of 12.5:1. Those were pinned to a new set of shot-pinned chrome molybdenum connecting rods, and then onto a 65mm stroker crankshaft. Subsequently, the engine displacement increased to 1340cc. The head received larger ports and titanium intake valves with a 14-degree valve angle. The intake was now fed with a pair of fuel injectors instead of a single per cylinder, thanks to a new cylinder coating with a different treating method for the piston rings. Friction losses and oil consumption were reduced. One thing worth of noting is the Suzuki B-King, a naked motorcycle with the Hayabusa stroker engine made from 2007 to 2012. It actually first came out as a concept with a supercharger. Suzuki created a cult under the name Hayabusa. It is not just the bike itself, its engine became extremely legendary and widely used. To begin with, it is a solid, reliable piece of engineering that is known to clock 100,000 kilometers without major overhauls. In addition, it can take a fair amount of abuse in a form of turbocharging. According to tuners, the rods are fine up to 300 horsepower, and the pistons are even better, with a rough limit of 400 horsepower. The sheer performance of the 1.3 liter made it somehow ideal for swaps into small road and race cars. With its volume, it provides an above-average performance, and it is the reason why the engine is a bit more expensive to purchase aftermarket. There are also examples where the Busa's head is used on a very different block, as it flows exceptionally well. Last but not least are the crazy V8 builds like Hartley and Radical Precision engines, which put out a ton of power from a very lightweight piece of a motor. Both of the companies have sourced their engines from the Hayabusa, and the Radical SR8 LM was actually the fastest car on the Nürburgring since 2009 for quite some time. Last year, the third gen was introduced, and it is still the Hayabusa we have known since 1999. It has a lot more rivals than 20 years ago, and naturally, there are several updates to the original motorcycle. But the core concept is unchanged. Although there is theoretically the same stroker engine, it was heavily reworked from the inside, including all new internals, camshafts, drive-by-wire throttle, or a large airbox. It makes more low-end power and is supposedly the fastest launching Busa yet. There were thoughts and testings of different engine layouts, such as a bigger displacement, turbocharging, and even a 6-cylinder, but Suzuki considers the original 4-port as the best overall balance while retaining Hayabusa's true identity. The Suzuki Hayabusa may seem that it succeeded thanks to the old-school approach of having the biggest engine. That's however just a half of the story, as there was a lot more engineering time invested in it, creating an unprecedented package in a single motorcycle. It had a great aero, comfortable seating position, and amazing handling. But I think it is safe to say that nobody would care as much if such a gem of an engine was not placed in it.